Thanks, Sarah. Now, Lord Browne's recommendations that universities should charge what they like for a degree is bound to cause division amongst Liberal Democrats. During the election campaign, Lib Dem MPs, including the leader Nick Clegg, pledged to oppose an increase in tuition fees.
I think that the plans that, as far as I can make out, both the Conservatives and Labour parties are cooking up in one way or another to raise the cap on tuition fees is wrong. We will resist, vote against, campaign against any lifting of that cap.
Well, to discuss this, I'm joined by student campaigner Tom Chigbo, who says the Lib Dems have broken their promise, and the Vice-Chancellor of Exeter University, David Allen. If I could start with you, first of all, Mr. Allen. First, explain to us why you think you need this extra money.
Well, I think we have to link the Browne proposals with the proposals which we'll find out about next week in the spending review. But if the speculation is right about cuts in public funding, then clearly there'll need to be increases in graduate contributions, not contributions from students, but contributions from graduates who get a private benefit from going to university in order to replace that lost income. Otherwise there'll be fewer places for students and the quality of UK higher education will decline at a time when we've just had 4 Nobel Prize winners announced in this country.
So you're saying that this extra funding is needed just to keep you standing still, as it were?
Yeah, I mean, we've calculated here, for example, that we would require a tuition fee of around £7,000 a year just to stand still if the forecasts of public expenditure cuts are true. Now, obviously, we try our best to be as efficient as possible and to provide our students with the best possible experience, but you can't go into cuts of that magnitude without some other income stream. And it does seem fair to me that provided that there are safeguards, and Lord Browne has provided plenty of safeguards, then it is fair to ask graduates to contribute more, particularly those graduates whose degree leads to higher lifetime earnings.
Well, Tom Chigbo, throughout that you were shaking your head. Do you at least acknowledge, though, that universities have to get funding from somewhere if standards aren't to slip?
Obviously, it's important for universities to get funding, but it's completely unfair to see all of that burden placed on the student. If the cap is raised from tuition fees, then what we'll see is a market emerge in higher education, whereby students will be forced to choose not based on academic considerations, but based on their ability to pay. Now, that's something that's going to really deter poorer students from achieving the grades and aspiring to go to the higher and best performing institutions in the country who will be able to charge astronomical fees. That's simply unfair, and it's unfair to place all of that burden on the shoulders of students, giving them up to £30,000 worth of debt before they even enter the job market.
You were at a prestigious university, you studied at Cambridge, you just graduated. If you knew that the fees were going to be, say, £12,000, would that put you off applying in the first place?
Certainly. I think the fees that we already have of £3,000 are bad enough, but when we're talking about £12,000 or anything of that level, that would be ridiculous. And I mean, it's completely hypocritical for a government who have based savage cuts in our public services on the immorality of public debt to simply allow students, before they even enter the job market, to acquire astronomical levels of debt themselves.
David Allen, some people have said that this is going to make English degrees the most expensive degrees in the world. Do you think they're going to be worth it?
Yeah. Well, they're definitely going to be worth it. I mean, Lord Browne and many other commentators have pointed out that over a lifetime you get at least £100,000 more benefit from being a graduate than you do from just doing A-levels. And at a university like Exeter, the benefit is higher than that. A degree provides access to the professions, graduates are healthier, they have more satisfying lives, and they tend to earn more money. And all over the world you see private contributions. Even in countries like China, you see private contributions from graduates to their higher education. The key thing is that it's not students who pay, it's graduates, and only when they can afford to do so.
Tom, it isn't a little bit like taking out a mortgage. It's a little bit like investing in yourself. Don't you think you're worth investing in?
I think we've got to think about what the aims of higher education are for. It's not simply a business transaction whereby you pay some money and get something out. It's actually about opening minds and providing people access to opportunities, to jobs, to wealth, to the ability to better themselves. Now, those opportunities should not be based on how much money you're willing to pay, how much debt you're willing to acquire. And we do not need to see a situation where those people who perhaps need those opportunities most are being deterred from achieving those opportunities. And I'd like to query the figure that was given that graduates earn £100,000 more over a lifetime. That's an average figure, meaning that for many students of arts subjects particularly, that figure's way down at about £20,000 or £30,000 over a lifetime. Now, if fees are going to go up to about £7,000, which is what's being suggested, then that graduate premium is completely eliminated by the debt which you would acquire through doing the course. The economic incentive is completely removed.
Tom, before we let you go, you were pictured during the election campaign standing next to Nick Clegg when he was holding up that poster saying no increases in university fees. How do you feel towards him today?
Well, I mean, the first and most basic duty of a politician is to stand by their promises. That's what we want to judge them on. And I think it's a complete betrayal for the Lib Dems to be suggesting that they'll go back on their pledge. Nick Clegg, as we saw in the video before, said that he would resist, campaign against and vote against any increase in the cap. He has no excuse to do anything other than that. If he doesn't do that, then frankly, it will be a real betrayal of students, and students and their families will not forgive him. It's crunch time right now for the Liberal Democrats. Are they going to be the principled and progressive politicians who they claim to be, or are they just going to be sort of spineless sycophants to their Conservative masters?
Tom Chigbo and David Allen, thank you both very much. I'm afraid that's all we've got time for. Thank you. Time now for the business news with Joel.
There are 8